Hey, good morning, everybody. Hopefully everybody's able to get on the call okay today. Um, we are going to be using this as a little bit of a trial run going forward for using Google to its maximum potential. So hopefully we get a good turnout today. If you have something come up, if you have that important phone call or somebody comes in, please remember you can do a couple of things that you couldn't do with the Uber conference. You are able to pause this video and come back and watch it in just a minute. So if you ever need to pause it, you can. Just know that if you have paused the video at any point, you're going to be a little behind in any type of presentation that we do. So if you have a question that comes up and it's not answered right away, just know that there's going to be a couple of things that happen. So we're going to try to monitor any questions that you guys type in. So if you guys do have a question, it should show up to us about a minute after you type the question. So it's not going to be immediate, but we should see it. If you've paused your video and you've waited 5 minutes, we won't see it until after the 5 minutes you've been gone. So if a question comes up and you don't hear the answer, I will try to make sure that any questions that come through we follow up with afterwards, and we can post those to 2 different places that you'll see those. It will be on the same link that you clicked on to get to this Hangout. There'll be a little conversation underneath where those questions can be answered again. And also in the State of Wyoming training community, I will make sure those questions are posted again there so that you can go back and review them. As I know there's going to be a few things, also if you have a question afterwards that we didn't get to, feel free to email me and we'll make sure that those get responded to. So we don't have a ton on the agenda today, but what we have hopefully is going to be useful for you. So the first person that I have on the agenda is Donna Nelson, and she is with us actually at Danita's office. She's come to us from the CLIMB program and is going to do a presentation on the CLIMB program, and I know a lot of you are familiar with this and have clients that have used this, but Donna, I'd like to welcome you to our call today, and I appreciate your attendance.
Thank you very much, Kelly. It's good to talk to you all again, and I was on a call back in December talking about CLIMB Wyoming, and Danita and I were sharing information about our partnership with the Department of Family Services and the ENT training program that CLIMB is now offering through SNAP ENT. And so I wanted to just come back. Danita and I have been visiting with a lot of the sites throughout the state, and we will be visiting more as the year progresses to talk about how we can partner together to help CLIMB recruit participants into the program, because we really want to be serving the clients who you're seeing and enrolling on SNAP or POWER. They're a perfect fit for our program. And talking about how we often have people that come to us and need SNAP benefits or need benefits, and how we can bridge that in a kind of creative and effective fashion for both to meet our needs and yours. And so we've been experimenting a little bit with that in Cheyenne, and Casper and Laramie are where we've gone so far. And what we're learning throughout that process, and you guys already all knew this, is that benefit specialists throughout the entire state of Wyoming serve clients sometimes in other locations. And so I wanted to come today to talk a little bit about what CLIMB Wyoming is and what we do, and also offer to start sending maybe more regular communication to all the benefit specialists throughout the state about upcoming programs. For example, we're recruiting right now for an office careers program in Gillette, and there's a way to get that information into your hands, but I didn't want it just to come out of left field. And so as I work with Corinne on the TANF side and Danita, we sometimes just brainstorm ways that we can partner. So I'm assuming if you guys have any questions as I'm talking, you'll go ahead and type them in there and I'll see them. So I'm just going to keep going on. CLIMB Wyoming started in 1986. We were founded by Ray Fleming Deneen, who's a psychologist, and what we do is we train and place low-income single mothers in careers that successfully support their families. Our goal is to get them earning self-sufficient wages, being able to remain employed once we place them, moving them off of SNAP benefits or off of power, and truly helping the temporary assistants be temporary in their lives. We have a large success rate. Our graduation rate is around 83% statewide. We screen very carefully to make sure people are ready for our program, and that helps us ensure that they're able to complete the program. And statistically, 75% of our participants are still employed 2 years post-program, making more than double the wage that they were making ahead. And it's been really fun for Danita and I to start watching really closely as we've ventured on this SNAP ENT grant, and Danita gets really excited and says, oh, she moved off because of excess income. Oh, she moved off because of excess income. So it's been really rewarding because it's not every day we get to see firsthand maybe that happening, and we're not really seeing it except on our spreadsheet, but it's still exciting and effective. So that's why I wanted to come today and talk to you, is because it's really, recruitment is a really big challenge, because those that live in poverty are sometimes a little bit hidden and hard to get to, and they are coming into your offices, and we want them to get introduced to the CLIMB program. And so it's a very easy referral process to get them to our program, just by asking them to contact us, or just getting them the information about how to get to CLIMB. And then also there have been some ways that we've established in the offices working in Casper and Cheyenne and Laramie, where you guys can actually formally refer them to us and give us their contact information. And I'll let Danita decide if that's appropriate to share statewide, or if we should just keep that in the offices we're directly in right now. But that is basically the gist of CLIMB, and I would like to start sharing, we call them recruitment flyers, that talk about when we have a program coming up with all of you via email. And I'm not quite sure if that's going to look like it's coming from me, or if possibly I'll be partnering with Danita to send that out. We have to figure out the technology into that thing. I'm not sure if I can link to your emails or not. So that is what I am here to talk about. What am I missing, Danita? Anything?
So CLIMB is in which counties, Donna?
We have an office in Casper that reaches Natrona County and Converse County. We serve a lot of women out of Douglas and Glenrock. We are in Gillette, and that reaches Campbell County and Crook County, and I think Weston, maybe. We serve a lot of participants out of Wright and some of the rural areas just up in that northeast corner of the state. And then we have a Teton office in Jackson, and they service northern Lincoln County, the Afton area, and Sublette, Pinedale. We get some participants out of Pinedale as well. And then we have Laramie, which is serving all of Albany County, and Cheyenne, which reaches all of Laramie County. And those are our current spots. And then recently, a big part of our partnership with Danita and the SNAP ENT program, as well as us just continuing to work to diversify our funding, has allowed us to reopen our Sweetwater County office, which we're very excited about. And we are just making that announcement in the last month or so, and excited to, I've been in Sweetwater County recruiting for a program director, and we're looking for office space. So we hope to have that program accepting women by the spring of 2016, maybe even beginning recruitment as early as January 2016. It's based on the timing of those hires and stuff. But those are the areas that we serve participants in, and we are able to help them with transportation costs, getting to and from the program, and we would work directly with them if they were commuting from another community to one of those sites. We work directly with them to problem solve that. And the message I've been sending to all of the benefit specialists that we've met with in person is to screen moms into CLIMB and let us kind of filter out who's not a fit or who's we just like to get in contact with these potential participants. And the definition of mom can be very broad. Often for CLIMB, that might mean that they're working towards reunification with their kids. They might not have current full-time custody of them. they may be transitioning out of corrections, and so they don't have their kids again, reunification. Also, the definition of single is quite vague. Sometimes a participant may be separated and not divorced, or they may be, it might be kind of a hard situation where they're trying to separate and they're living in a separate apartment kind of, but in a similar situation. You know, I know you guys are very familiar with all these situations, and so we work carefully with Corinne and needed to make sure that they're eligible from a technical perspective, but we also can help case manage them until they're at a point where they are ready for climb. So I want you all to know that it can be a very broadly defined who is a single mother and who might be a fit for our program. Sometimes they may have a certain background, a criminal background that doesn't fit with maybe becoming a CNA, but it might be a great fit for an office careers program that we have coming up. And we kind of have a system to help keep them engaged with climb until the right program comes along for them. And I guess I could talk a little bit about the types of training we do. As we head into the fall, you'll see us doing a lot of medical trainings, certified medical assistant, certified nursing assistant, some office careers trainings. And then as we get into January, February, you'll see us start recruiting for the more non-traditional programs, truck driving, welding, warehousing. And those programs will only happen if we decide there's enough jobs in the community to place them. So, for example, in Gillette, if oil and gas and those things don't come back around, we might not run a CDL program in the spring because we want to know that we can get those participants jobs. And so we do a lot of industry research to ensure that those jobs are there. So that's another reason why I'd just like to be able to keep you guys informed a little more regularly about the types of training coming up, because it changes all the time.
And so Donna explained where the programs are. And what we thought is if we send the flyers of the upcoming classes or training programs out to everybody in the state, then for one, you can just know what's going on with climb and the employment and training program and what our SNAP clients are learning how to do and the careers that they're being trained for. But also, if you happen to work a case for Cheyenne and you're in Cody, then you would know what climb program is going on at the time, or if there is one, and that you can refer the clients to the climb program. Or if somebody picked up a Gillette case, or pretty much anywhere. And in Rock Springs, you guys are going to start having climb again also, so something for you to think about. But really, climb is covering most of the state, so almost everybody in the state will have some stake in the climb program. And like I said, just so you know the programs that are going on, because I think it's really neat to always know what's going on out there and what these moms are being trained in and what they're going to do for their careers and what our SNAP clients are going to move towards.
Yeah.
So when we send those, just kind of keep in mind where that program is, and maybe pull that up if you happen to get a caseload in another county, so you just kind of have that in mind.
Yeah, and we just really know that you guys have lots of resources that you can be referring clients to, whether it's Sensible Nutrition or some of the other programs that are going on. And so we also just want to be kind of top of mind for you. So it's important to us that we're reminding you, don't forget about climb, in case you have a single mom walk into your office that day, or a person in need of our services, just keeping us. I know you guys have a lot of cases to manage, and so we want to just be kind of a constant reminder that what's going on. So yeah, we will start sending those. Does anybody have any questions? Which I understand I'll need to wait a minute or two to find out if they come through, if you do.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things just that have come through so far. One thing is Amber White just wanted to kind of give a shout out to your Facebook page as well, because that's a really good way to get on and to look and see what classes are available as well. So she's been using that.
Awesome. Yes, we do keep our upcoming programs listed on there.
All right,
and
then go ahead.
I was just going to say, many of our programs also do those, we kind of do a big splash when we're getting ready to start a program and we have a timing for an information session. But if you have a potential participant for us that's eager to engage with Climb, it's okay to be sending them to our office at any time throughout the year. Some offices are really, really strong at managing them on an ongoing basis, and some of them will just ask them to wait for a little bit and then they'll be back in touch with them, but they'll take their contact information year-round. So I just wanted to say that.
Good. Then the next question is there any plans to expand into Fremont County?
We don't currently have plans to expand further. We just have to continually watch our capacity as an organization and make sure we aren't expanding beyond what we can sustain. So Sweetwater is currently our only planned expansion for right now. We do know that there is a strong program, I think it might be through BOCES up there, that I've been to a lot of meetings with Corinne and them, that they serve a similar population and do have some TANF funding to serve those that are on food stamps or SNAP, and they often train in areas like IT. And Lynn McCullough is very engaged in that program, and I think it's a really wonderful program. It's fairly similar to Climb, as it has some of the counseling components in that going on.
Okay, and then the last question that we had come through is just if somebody's from a county that doesn't have Climb in their community, is there any help with relocating if they're really interested in the Climb program?
Yeah, if they're really interested in moving their family and have the resources to do so, I think it would be helpful to put them in touch with us. I'm not sure. We would need to really help ensure that they're a good fit for our program before they would move their whole family. So if that ever were to come up, I would encourage you to get directly in contact with me, and you could do that through Danita, or Jackie's contact information will be on a lot of the stuff that we send out to all of you. Jackie Rabago is her name. But we would certainly want to be involved in the case management of that before they made the move, because sometimes the hard part is, for example, in Gillette, our recent program had 50 applicants and we can only accept 10. Maybe we can sometimes bump that number up to 12. So I would really hate for them to move their family and then the timing not be right for them to be in Climb.
Okay, I think that's all the questions we had come through. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to add to that?
I would just like to add that we've been having Climb as an employment and training partner for SNAP for a little over a year now. And we've had, I know this is kind of putting you on the spot, do you know about how many moms we've served?
So far 63 since December. Wow. I think is the number, and then we'll enroll another 20 or so in September.
So 63 moms that are on SNAP benefits have gone through Climb or are in the process of going through Climb since December. So that's pretty awesome. That's 63 families that will most likely become self-sufficient as a result of Climb and SNAP, and so that's awesome. And thank you guys for referring those moms over to Climb and working with us. And
yes, thank you very much. In Cheyenne, Casper, and Laramie, your recruitment efforts are helping us so much. We are seeing those participants walk into our office and be able to be served by Climb. So it's made a really big difference in those communities. We are able to serve more families, especially in Casper and Cheyenne. So we appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Donna.
Yes, thank you guys very much. And do you want me to hang out?
No, I just wanted to thank you again for being on the call with us today, and for all the information that you've given us. I know, just the whole idea of just being able to work along that path to self-sufficiency and the role that Climb plays in that, we're really appreciative of.
Yes, and we appreciate the role that you guys play in helping families while they work towards that as well. It's a big partnership for them, and some of them come to us and need benefits, so you guys do play a big role in that as well. So thank you.
All right. Okay, we're going to just keep moving along on our agenda then. Next on our agenda, I have Roxanne, who's also joined with us on the call. So Roxanne, I'll turn the time over to you.
Great. Thanks, Kelly. Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, I have now maybe just 2 quick announcements. The first one, I think most of you already know, but if not, I will go ahead and make the announcement that my husband and I, we are expecting a baby boy in December. And so, of course, we are super excited, and that's going to mean a little bit of a sabbatical for me. So if you don't hear from me for about 3 months or so, I'm off learning how to be a mom. And then secondly, working around travel and the logistics of that are going to be a little bit trickier. My husband is a firefighter, so he works 24-hour shifts. So it's not like something where I can be gone overnight and he can just go pick up the little one, because he's out there, you know, protecting and literally fighting fires. So I spoke to Director Corsi about how we could work making sure that I am still getting exposure to everybody and still getting feedback and still knowing and learning and understanding what is happening in the field office, or the field offices around the state. And so what our plan is that I will be, well, actually my assistant, Annette Jones, will be setting up 2 30-minute meetings a week with 2 different benefit specialists or supervisors. So I'll have 2 meetings a week with either 2 benefit specialists or a benefit specialist and a supervisor, however that works. And so hopefully throughout a year, I will be able to have a one-on-one half-hour conversation with each of you, and just see how things are going, get suggestions, get ideas, find out things that we can be helping with or providing. That's kind of what I want the conversation to be geared towards, and seeing out how I can help you and seeing how things are going out in the field so that I still have a good sense and a good pulse, even though maybe I won't be able to travel as much out to the field offices. So I wanted everybody to be aware of that and to know about that, so that when you receive an invitation either from myself or from Annette Jones, who will be working out the logistics of that you're not surprised. And it's not anything where I promise you're not in trouble or anything like that. I'm just really wanting to make sure that with this big exciting change in our lives, I'm still able to really have a good solid understanding of where we're at in the field offices and how we can help to move everybody forward, and what we can do and what we can provide. So I'm actually hoping to start that probably next month, just to kind of get us in the rhythm of doing that. And then, like I said, there'll be about 3 months where we won't have any of those. And then when I come back from leave, we'll start those up again, and we'll make sure that I have an opportunity to speak to everybody individually throughout the year. I'm hoping to start with, there's a couple of counties that I have not visited yet. So I'm hoping to start with them first, like Mountain View. Erica, I know I have not visited you or your office, so I'm hoping that you're going to be able to be one of the first people that I can have an individual conversation with. The Lander office I have not made it to, so again, I hope to have you guys as some of my first conversations. And the Sheridan and Buffalo offices I have not made it to. I've met all of you, but I still haven't made it to those offices. So those are some that I would think that we'll probably get on the agenda first, and just see how things go. So you can be ready for it with suggestions or comments or feedback when the time comes to have that conversation with me. So that was the first announcement. The second one is just to follow up on the email that I sent out on Friday afternoon. Congratulations to everybody who is working so hard and almost tirelessly to to see our error rate continue to decrease. It's really an exciting time. We have great momentum. We've all been working really hard to ensure that we have accuracy with our cases and that we are really doing our jobs well. So I wanted to follow up with the email and congratulate all of you on a job well done. And thank you for all that you're doing for our clients. That's all I got, unless there's questions.
I haven't seen any questions, but thanks again, Roxanne, for being on the call with us. Just another plug. I know that as Roxanne does some one-on-ones with you, and as we kind of make some transition as far as training goes, it is an advantage to us to be able to use technology, and we still want to have that personal touch. But we know that in the past, you know, we get to far corners of the state, looking at you, Sundance and Pinedale. It's really nice to be able to have that kind of interaction where we can kind of get the state a little bit smaller through the use of kind of our webcams and technology. Okay, thanks, Roxanne. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
you
Kelly.
Feel free to stay on the call or to hang up and participate as a viewer, whichever you'd prefer.
Okay, thanks, Kelly.
Okay, so one other question that came in right at the first, I didn't address it. I know Carrie sent me a question I know that there was a lot of people that may have joined the call just a little bit late, just because this is new and they may have clicked on the wrong link or looked on the wrong calendar link. Hopefully just by looking at our viewership throughout this session, it's continued to increase, so more and more people have got on. If you do have somebody in your office or out of the area that just wasn't able to find that, I did send out an additional link again today in an email. I also sent one out yesterday. Anybody that wants to view this should be able to click on that link once again and start this from the very beginning. They don't have to, they haven't missed out on anything. Everybody should be able to receive the same information. So that's one of the advantages that we have with using this particular format. I hope that none of you are frustrated with your computers and you want to throw them out the window at some point. I know we always get to that point, and especially when we start introducing the use of new technology or new programs or new software, sometimes it can be that way. So if any of you guys out there feel like this has been extremely frustrating and you want a little one-on-one training, please email me and I will make sure to put together a small class of how to use Google Hangouts, and we will go through that as well. So just know that use me as a resource. I'm more than willing to do that. All right, so pressing forward, the last thing that we have on our agenda, and we're a little ahead of schedule, so we might finish up a little bit early, is we are going to go over just a little bit of training with TPQIs and how that interface works and how to read a TPQI report. So I'd like to thank Darlene Martinez. She was the one that put this together for us and send it out. I've made just a couple of little adjustments on it, but for the most part, she has done all the work on that. And she also volunteered to be available to help answer questions today. So she's not going to be on the live call, but if you type in a question about a TPQI report, she's going to help answer those. And also, don't worry if you're behind and you didn't get an answer to your question or didn't get a chance to ask your question. Again, you can do that in a couple of ways. You can either type the question in as we're live and it'll come on. You can get on that community website and type the question in there. Or you can also just email me your question and I'll make sure that we get that out, and not only get it out to you as an individual response, but make sure that question's available to everybody so that they can see those responses. So hopefully we're getting that information out there. We want to make sure that everybody gets the same training. All right, so I'm going to just share my screen with you guys as we go through this today. As much as a guide for me as a guide for you, but we'll have several examples of just kind of the TPQI or third-party query report that we should be running with our cases. So first of all, what is the TPQI? It's a third-party report that shows SSA and SSI information. So for many of you that may not have a lot of experience with SSA or SSI, there's a couple little differences between the two. When we look at SSA or Social Security Administration, those are a lot of times what we think of as Social Security payments. It's based on your work history or possibly on the work history of a spouse or parent. And the benefit types that can be included in SSA payments are retirement. You are eligible to start receiving retirement at 62 or older, depending on circumstances and depending on the amount of monthly benefit you are going to receive. There's also survivor benefits through the SSA, and also disability, which includes blindness on that through the Social Security Administration. So SSA, or Social Security, is based on income and wages and is paid into basically a trust fund managed by the federal government and then repaid out to those participants at those times. SSI is supplemental security income, and it's also paid through Social Security Administration, but it works differently. SSI is a needs-based program, so that it's only available to those with limited income and resources who may not have those work credits required for regular Social Security. So when you look at something and you wonder why somebody is receiving SSI instead of SSA, maybe you have an elderly applicant that is receiving SSI, this can be an indicator of why they might be receiving that payment, and also kind of give you a guide of what you're going to be looking for when determining eligibility. So through the SSI, or Supplemental Security Income payments, the benefits can be the aged program, which is 65 or older. Also, there's a disability program and a separate blindness program. So any of those areas somebody can be receiving an SSI payment through. So when we run a TPQI report, what we're really looking for is this information. We are looking for the type of income that they're receiving through Social Security or SSI, and also possibly what type of Medicare payments they're making or are being paid on their behalf. So when should a TPQI be requested? So some of you may have bumped into this in the recent past, but it is really important that we run TPQIs at the right times. So whenever we do a initial application for benefits for a client, we need to be running this TPQI report to make sure that we understand what type of SSI or SSA payments are being made into that household. So that is also why it is on one of the checklists for our narrative. When we go through, this should be one of the interfaces that is checked. We should also run a TPQI on each recertification. So we know that many times we have clients that can go and they get a change in their benefits at the beginning of the year, but they may recertify in the middle of that year. Even though we know that their new benefit amount has changed clear back at the first year, it is important to run a TPQI at each recertification to make sure there hasn't been any type of changes either in their benefits or in their expenses based on that, their payments that they receive that might show up on that report. Also, we need to run this report when we get a change reported to us that would affect the client's income or medical expenses, that we would need to find that information on a TPQI. And then also at the time of each COLA increase. So at the end of the year, there is a cost of living adjustment that's placed on SSA and SSI payments. That's known as the COLA increase. And each year you will get an email that reminds you that you need to run TPQI reports on your clients. You should get a list of those clients as well. And you'll need to go through and manually authorize those benefits. Jenny also points out that we need to be running this TPQI report when we do the SNAP interim report. So this would also be one of those annual recertifications. When on that interim report, when we receive that back, we should also run that TPQI. So that's really good, Jenny. Glad you reminded me of that. So how do you request a TPQI? So here's a quick screenshot. Hopefully all of you guys know how to access EPICS. But when you get into there and you're on the INME screen, which is the selection screen for all the inquiries that you can do, the TPQI is listed right there as number 15. So all we need to do is enter that as our selection, and it'll ask you for a client social security number. So when you put in this client social security number, it'll bring you into the TPQI page. And it's going to let you run a couple of different reports. What we're really looking for is that TPQI report. So you're going to enter a Y into the request column right there, and it's going to bring that back for you. Once you enter the Y, then this report will be probably available in 2 or 3 days, most likely 3 days. So the best thing to do is make sure that you set up a calendar alert or some type of alert that you can go back and review this. So it isn't a report that immediately is going to appear on your computer, but once you put that in, you're going to want to go back and review that. So there's a couple of things that kind of go along with that. Make sure that whenever you're working a case, especially if it has Social Security or SSA income involved in it, that you're going through and you're going to request this TPQI ahead of time, so you're not bumping into a situation where you're coming up on the 30 days and you haven't requested a TPQI report yet, because do remember that it is going to take 2 or 3 days for that to become available on your computer. So when you go through this, once you put in yes, your report is going to populate. You'll go and re-access the report the same way you access the first one, by entering 15 and the Social Security number on the INME screen. And then when you do that, when you open that report, it is going to populate this screen. So in the next few screens, I have several examples that will pop up on that. So for example, when you receive a TPQI report, it is going to populate the top portion of your screen with the following information. Most of it is going to be self-explanatory, but I'm still going to kind of just go through it step by step, just so that you all have the same information. It's going to list the client's Social Security number and also the client's NBR number, which is their Medicaid number, or 0600 number for those of you guys that lived through the 0600 number days. That's where it is right there. And that may have changed depending on what types of new numbers that the Department of Health is issuing now. There's also this column, which is the client HIC. And this is the Social Security number that benefits are being paid from. This is usually the client's Social Security number with a letter behind it. But if you have a situation where somebody is being paid from a spouse's Social Security or a parent's Social Security, it may list the spouse or parent's Social Security number there as well. You also have the client name, the date that the request was received, and the date that the inquiry was requested. So those things are going to also be listed on that initial screen. Okay. Most of the other things should be self-explanatory. It lists the sex of the client that you've requested and their date of birth as well. Okay, so a couple of questions that have come in, and hopefully you guys are able to look at those. Some of the questions have already been typed out. So one of the questions that came in is Mona asked, is this for all new applications or only those that report having SSA or SSI income? And the answer, and Darlene is helping us with that, is also that the TPQI should request it if they list any Social Security on the application. And you also want to look for other red flags, like if the individual is 62 or older, we would still need to run a TPQI even though there wasn't any listing of income there, just to make sure that we're covering all our bases. Okay, so hopefully that asks a couple of or answers a couple of different questions for us. So also Freddie had asked that question about if we should request a TPQI for clients who are over 60 years old, although the state reports they are not receiving Social Security benefits. Again, if they fit into those categories, 62 or older, that they may be receiving some type of Social Security benefit, we should be running this report. And Tink asks the question, why can other agencies get TPQIs back instantly instead of waiting several days? And I'm guessing it's because Social Security hates us, but I am not positive that. So that's a very good question. Hopefully somebody may know the answer to that. I do not. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that it's going to take 2 or 3 days for that to repopulate. So, and obviously I don't think Social Security hates us. I hope nobody hates us. Okay, so a few of those questions hopefully have been answered. I'm going to move back just kind of to reading the TPQI. So when we receive this back, you're going to get something that looks a little bit intimidating, possibly maybe if you haven't looked at TPQI reports before. So this is going to be kind of a general example of a case that was run and the information that has come back. So there are a few things that you notice on this. So when it says up here, it says status MBR, yes, that's the master beneficiary report. This second line, I know Darlene did some research on that, and it seems like nobody's really sure what all the codes mean, so that's not something that's necessarily going to pertain to us on this LOU column. Somebody out there may be aware of that, but I am not sure on that. Then it is going to start giving us information that's going to be relevant to our case. So on that third line, where it has this information listed through supplemental security report, if it lists yes over here after that, then it means that your client is receiving SSI benefits. It's also going to give you the information that you entered as far as the client's social security number, name, and it also lists a user code here. This user code typically is going to be 530, which is for the state of Wyoming. And then also it's going to give you TPQI confidential social security data. This is where you're informed that you're looking through social security data and not social security supplemental data. So it will list that out for you. And then it'll also list the claim number and the individual's own social security number. So for example, we also have this information that came back on a client. So our client here, Missy Tuffet, born 1/15 in 1956, that information that we know, but as you go through, we have a little bit of a translation down here. So when it lists entitled on here, the entitled date, we can see that the client was deemed disabled in July of 1996. The payment status is C, which means benefit paid. And if you look through some of the appendices in the combined manual, if you have a code that you're not aware of, most of those appendices that will list some of those codes, and I have a few links to those throughout this presentation, and you can see that. But just know that the payment status code most often is going to be C, benefits paid. You're also going to see a net benefits if payable amount here. Now, just a quick note on this. The net benefits is not necessarily used for income. Just like when we look at income from an employer, we are going to be looking for gross income and not net income. The only time we are going to use any net income amount is if the lesser amount is because of an overpayment by Social Security. In those cases, in order to receive verification, we will need to contact Social Security directly. So in the vast majority of cases, the gross income is what we are looking for and not the net payable income. That's also going to list a benefit history. So this is going to reflect the gross amount of income received by the client. Okay, it's normally only updated once a year at the end of November for a new COLA increase in January. But it might reflect several different dates based on redeterminations by Social Security. So if you see a few different dates and it lists the same amount possibly, or there might be an adjustment, you can look at that on page 1 and it'll give you some of that information. Okay, so if some of you aren't following along with the comments that are going on, just going to give a quick recap. Darlene explains that one of the reasons the Social Security or the TPQI report takes a few days is because Social Security has to filter that information. And also Mary points out that Medicaid uses a completely different system to get this information from Social Security. So other avenues that people have to access the same information that possibly we don't. Danita also points out that hopefully we will have quicker access to this information with WES 2. But that obviously, with WES 2, we always know the caveat that there are no guarantees. Okay, so when you look at the TPQI, moving on to to page 2, this is an example of the information that you receive on page 2. So with hospital insurance, this is the date that Medicaid Part A was approved. In the supplemental insurance column, if it shows that they are entitled, it's the date the client was entitled to Medicare. If the Medicare was terminated, it will give you a date that it was terminated. It'll also show a premium. So if there's a monthly premium fee for Part A and Part B, those will be included there. And there is also a column buy-in CD, and CD equals the state code. So this declares that if a state is paying the Medicare premium and which state it is, you'll find that information on that page 2 of the TPQI. This is really important because we know that if the state is paying a Medicare premium, a couple of things happen. One, we are still counting the gross payment that a client is receiving, and they should be receiving the full amount. They are not deducted that premium from the Social Security payment that they received. And also, if the state is paying their Medicare premium, it is not eligible for a medical deduction. So remember that if somebody claims their Medicare premium as part of their medical deduction and the state is paying that cost, they are not eligible for that deduction. Okay, and it'll also give you a start and a stop date for the dates a buy-in may have occurred or was terminated, and the date the actual disability began. So if you look at this page and you have something that looks similar to what we have here and all those sections are blank, it means that your client does not currently qualify for Medicare. So here's just a quick example of that. So we have our client right here. We see that the client would be entitled to Medicare as of 7 of 1998. And when they look at their premium, right now their premium is $104.90. The buy-in lists a state code of 530. So again, that means when we look at this buy-in 530, the 530 means that the state of Wyoming is paying that premium. Okay, so 530 is the state code for Wyoming, and the premium they're paying is $104.90. Okay, and they began that as of 7 of 1998. Okay, and it also lists the beginning date of the disability. So when you're trying to find out whether or not the state is paying that premium, look for this state buy-in code right there. Okay, so there's a code for each state, including Guam and Puerto Rico, American Samoa. There's a code for each of those. So if you ever needed to know the codes, feel free to go back and look at this. There are also lists of these codes as you go through. I don't believe it's in the appendices, but these can be made available, and if you have a question on one of those codes, you can look at it. But here's just a quick recap of other state codes other than 530 that is for Wyoming. All right, so moving on to page 3. Page 3 is going to give us a little bit more information on what type of income they're receiving or what type of data Social Security received from their client. So again, it's going to show you some of the same information that you've already seen, but this kind of gives you a general guide of that information that's on there. So the input Social Security number is the number that you looked up. The user code, again, is going to be the state code. So for most often, this is going to be 530 for us in Wyoming. The TPQY confidential supplemental security income data is the Social Security number used for this report. Okay, so most often this is going to be your client. This may be for a parent or a spouse in some cases as well. So if you do have a case like that, you're looking at it for a parent or a spouse, you haven't done that before, there are a few rules that go along with it. We're not necessarily going into it with this TPUI report, but please make sure that you either send me an email or you ask your supervisor and they can help guide you with that. Most of the other information is going to be pretty self-explanatory. It should give you the client's name, gender, date of birth, when they were eligible, their application date, the type of person, which is typically going to be a disabled individual if we're looking at disabled, but cases. You may see different categorizations there, but it'll show you those. It'll also give you a citizen or alien code. If you see a code that you don't recognize or you're worried about, if you look at Appendix 4 in the combined manual, it has a list of all of these alien codes that you can use as a translation guide, or the Rosetta Stone for TPQIs, as well as SDX codes. All right, so if we look at our example, all of that information is going to be populated. Most of this information is not necessarily things we have to use for eligibility determination, but this gives you a good translation guide on how to use page 3 of the TPQI, and to be able to look through and find any information that you need. So moving on to page 4, page 4 is going to give us more information on our client and the amount that they are receiving. So the payment history of benefits paid is the most common one we look at, and it refers to a table that we're going to look at, which is going to show the date, the federal amount, the state payment, and the type of payment. So the date is going to list the date of the payment. So this usually reflects December with year and the new amount as of January 1st. So when you look at it and it shows that December payment with the new amount as of January 1st, this is typically going to be where it lists our COLA increase. And we would need to start counting that income correctly at the beginning of the year for our new clients. This will need to be done once again every year for those receiving SSI benefits or Social Security benefits, as their benefits are going to increase the following year. And at the end of each calendar year, you will receive instructions on how to do this again, just to make sure that we are all running that TPQI report and then manually authorizing those cases that we need to and adjusting their benefits to the new amount. Okay, so the federal amount is going to list that gross amount of payment, which is the amount that we want to use when determining eligibility for clients. Okay, there's also a state amount, which we don't use in Wyoming. So for an example here, that also will show what type of payment before we move to the example, which is the reoccurring amount, which indicates the monthly amount that's going to be received. And you may see on here occasionally one-time payments. So if you do have a client that receives a one-time payment, this often happens in summer months. So for people that are receiving aged or disability payments, sometimes they get a grant of about $250. I'm not sure if that is changed since this, but it's not something we anticipate or need to calculate into their income, because we don't know when a person has applied for services. So unless that's a payment that has pushed somebody over the reporting requirements, it's not something that they necessarily have to report to us as well. So just make sure that you're looking for those reoccurring payments when you're looking to determine income based or eligibility based on income. Okay, and also if there's no payment made, it means they're no longer eligible for payment, and a client would need to contact the Social Security Administration directly to resolve any issues. So if you do see that where it has an amount or no payment made, that's not something we can take care of, and you all know that people want us to be able to do that, but they will need to contact Social Security directly. And then overpayment recovery is, if we see that, it means that Social Security Administration is recuperating benefits that were paid. So if they paid an excess amount and then they have to now go recoup that, that may be a common case for disabled children when their parents, one or both parents work. The income of their parents can count, and they may receive an overpayment at some point, okay, since that SSI amount is based on household income. And then the payment status code, for example, in this case, CO1 is the code for SSI eligible clients, and you can look in Appendix 4 for a list of all those codes that can be used. Okay, and then the question just from Kayleen is, will we be able to print this out? And absolutely, I will again make this available in a few different ways so that you can actually go in and see it on the community site. I'll actually email this as well so that everybody has access to this training. Okay, and then so for our example on page 4, we can see just basically a payment amount for our client. So for example, we see that at the beginning of this year, our client started to receive $733 reoccurring amount. So if we were working a case, the $733 would be the amount of SSI benefits that we would list as unearned income for our client. These past amounts, 721, was for last year, and for whatever reason may have been listed based on a recalculation by the Social Security Administration, but those are not amounts that we would need to use. And you'll also know that there was a one-time payment that we would not be concerned about. So please focus on those gross amounts, and please focus on the gross amount that corresponds with the year that you're determining eligibility for. Again, this becomes really important at the end of the year after the COLA increase. All the other information is listed down below. Again, we don't use the state amount in Wyoming. We can show that it's a recurring benefit and that that CO1 code is an SSI payment that has been paid. Also listed in here, you'll see just kind of some miscellaneous terms that you might come across as you look at either a TPQI or you're working with an individual that's receiving SSI. I'm not going to go through each one of these, but as we try to fill your heads with more and more acronyms, sometimes it's useful just to have a list of those so that you can go back and review those. So just kind of as a general recap, please make sure that if you have any type of case where they may be receiving Social Security benefits or they fit into a category where you feel there may be some Social Security benefits either through Social Security Aged Program, Disability, or SSI, that you run this TPQI report, both at the time of application, any recertifications, when we do those interim reports, or if you receive reports of change. We have had a few things just come through where errors may have been preventable just by running the report and making sure we review the information. If you do get a report back and you get confused in the middle of it, you're not sure how to read a page, feel free to scan that in and send it to me or review it with your supervisor, and we'll try to make sure those answers get to you. Review this first just to see if that answer might already be into the training, but that's really what I have for you guys today. So hopefully most of the questions have already been answered. If you feel I went through too fast, which I tend to do, and I apologize ahead of time, but if we went through this a little bit too fast, just know that you can go back and review this at any time. So if you want to review a TPQI in a month from now and you want to hear my voice go through it for you again, you can review this video, or you can go through the presentation on your own as well. So again, I'd like to thank everybody that were participants on the call today. I'd like to thank Donna Nelson from Climb to give us some great information on their program, along with Danita, and also Roxanne for the announcements that she made, and give her congratulations to the baby that they're going to have. It's really exciting. And I'd also like to thank Darlene Martinez for all of her help in kind of putting together this TPQI training, and also for her help with some of the questions today. So I'd also like to thank all of you guys for your participation. And I know that sometimes we all hear about the error rate and how great is it to see that going down. Please know that we're all excited. We're all working forward to that same goal. If you guys have suggestions on how we can make either our 6-week meetings better or our trainings better, please feel free to give me a call or to email me your suggestions. We'll try to incorporate as many as we can based on our resources and based on the technology we have available as well. So that's all we've got for you today. Thanks, and I hope you guys all have a great week.